Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Voxcaster podcast. As always, my name is Max, and I'm joined by my co-hosts Kim and Steve. And we are very excited to present our guest today, who is Matthew, or as you can find him on Instagram, Heretic Astartes. So please help us welcome Matt to the show. Welcome, Matt.
Hello, Matt.
Welcome.
Hey, guys.
So, you and I, Matt, we've been friends for quite a long time. I've actually been really excited for this podcast because I have some stored away things from you that you used to do that I don't know if a lot of people in the hobby know that you used to do, that I'm excited to show. Also, because I get to embarrass my friend. But we wanted to quickly start with just like your story, like what got you into the hobby, what first initially made you take that plunge, and was there a reason behind maybe the heretic Astartes side of things versus like the loyalist thing, the Astartes side of things that you see most people tend to gravitate first towards?
So I've got to dial it back quite far. I think, like with most people, to me, it seems there was quite a big surge with people getting back into the hobby the last sort of 5, 6 years.
Yep.
Mhm.
And when I used to live in Scotland many years ago, and when I was a little kid, one of my friends bought me some chaos. I remember, I think it was like a chaos predator or something like that. And I remember my friend getting really into it, and then my brother got into it, and I was like, this is so cool, as a little 10-year-old, like playing around with these little figures. And then I kind of fell out of the hobby when I moved back to, so I'm a little bit of backstory. I'm from Zimbabwe, and there is no Warhammer here. That is like, you ask someone what Warhammer is, and they go, what? And so when I was living in the UK, one of my best friends, actually, who I met at university, was really into the hobby, and he kind of got me back into it. And I was like, oh man, like I love your Chaos Marines, like it's so cool, whatever. And then when I was leaving university, he was like, just bought me a starter kit, and it was like, mate, you've been talking about it for so long. He has your own models. He has some Chaos Marines. He has some Plague Marines. And I never initially been attracted to Death Guard just because I didn't know anything about them.
Mhm.
And then from there, I was like, well, I'm going to be at home for a bit. Let me just buy a couple more models. And that was it. That was like done deal. I got back into it, and then COVID hit. And then I was just stuck at home all day, painting like everyone else. And I think Instagram kind of came alive then,
Yeah,
and
I would agree.
everyone was sharing their things and these beautiful creations. And I was like, I want to share my stuff. Back then, like by my standards, I don't think I painted that well. And so I was like, well, I'm bored. It gives me something to post on Instagram every day. And then I kind of got into it even more. And because Instagram was kind of like that way to just share my work on the other side of the world, I was like, this is actually quite fun. Like, I mean, that's how I got to know Max. And we just started
Yep.
chatting on Instagram, and it was
Yeah.
like, this is so cool. Like, I'm talking to someone on the other side of the world who loves the same things I do. And so it continuously grew from there. And then I got into the gaming side, wasn't too great at it, only played every now and then. And then when I moved back to Zimbabwe recently, as in the last few years, the weirdest thing, I met someone on Reddit who was like, man, I'm in Zimbabwe and I've been flying to South Africa to play Warhammer. Like, this is insane. And we've started up our own little hobby club here. I mean, we've got maybe 4
Yeah.
people. And yeah, it just went from there.
Really cool. It's a nice sort of like gateway to like have access to those from such a younger, well, as I say, like young age. Then you've hit it again at uni. So for me, year-wise, Death Guard, are we talking old school metal models that you got you, or was that modern day Plague Marines then?
No, so like my mate who got me back into it in 2019, he got me it was, those 3 easy build Plague Marines, that like
Yeah, yeah.
starter
It was
set
like
with the,
one with the
yeah,
knife. The other,
yes,
yeah.
yeah. So he got me
Okay.
those, and I remember he got me that and a pack of Chaos Space Marines and some like paints and stuff. And I was like, well, if I'm gonna get back into the hobby, I may as well buy a couple other things, whatever.
Yeah,
So I
of
remember
course.
buying, I think it was the multi-part Plague Marine set. I got a few Dark Imperium things, and I remember just buying a whole host of different models. And then from there, like I think for me at that time was quite nice because Death Guard already had quite a big existing range.
Yeah, like that expansion of Dark Imperium really fleshed them out. Like before, they were literally just like an upgrade kit with just torsos, and then
I
all of a
know.
sudden you got like, Lodge of Contagion with the chain axe and everything. I was like, fair play. Like we got Primaris, Death Guard got a glow up as well. Like so, yeah, it was
Exactly.
nice to see.
Yeah. I'm still
So
salty about that Lord of Contagion. I really hope G-Dubs does like a re-release of that kit because man, I love that Lord of Contagion. He's got to be my favorite model.
yeah, even the new Lord of
So that's
Boxes, because
actually
that
that.
for me, almost tempted me. Sorry, Max.
No, that Lord of Contagion is like the reason I got back into Warhammer. Actually, like that's the funny
Yeah.
thing about all this is that Lord of Contagion. When I saw that model specifically, I was like, "That's what a Death Guard Lord looks like. That is a Death Guard."
Exactly.
And then I jumped back into it. So it's kind of funny because like when you mentioned there, I actually think you and I just started talking because we saw each other's Death Guard posts one day, and then just
Yeah.
like messaged each other. And we're like, "Hey, your Death Guard look cool. Hey, so do yours." And then it's like
Yeah.
grown from there.
Want to be friends?
Yeah, literally. Uh, so
The way to do it.
when you look back at this friend now, is this somebody that you look back and you're like, "Thank goodness he got me this," or are you like, "Man, my wallet still hurts"? Like, which side of the
A bit of both, because I look at it and I'm like, man, you did not tell me that this is what was going to happen. You did not tell me that this is going to become an addiction. But I'm actually so glad he got me into it, because I look at, like, he's always been one of my closest friends since I met him. But just being able to like go over and visit him and be like, hey man, do you want to play a game? You know, and just like crack open a beer and play like 1,000 points worth of armies. And then from there, like coming back to Zimbabwe, I had all of these models because I was like, hell no, am I giving this hobby up, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And coming back and then seeing people here, like one of my coworkers actually, was really into like Total War. I was like, man, did you know that there's models as well? And he was like, what? And I showed him, and like he was like, man, this is so cool. And I got him into the hobby. Actually, he went with loyalists, so we won't talk about that. But I was just like, the fact that this all comes from one person introducing me to the hobby, you know.
Yeah.
And then now there's a whole bunch of other people. I remember going to this bit of a side story, but I was going to this one bar, and I saw my friend that I've known for years and years kind of like gone out of touch with him, and I walked past him, and all I heard, I remember going to the bar to get another beer, and he was chatting to one of his other friends. I was like, I'll chat to him later. And all I remember walking past was hearing Nurgle and Slanesh, and I was like, and I went over to him. I was like, dude, are you guys talking about Warhammer? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, no ways, dude. Like, I've been trying to find someone in Zimbabwe who even knows what Warhammer is. And he's like part of our hobby group now. So I don't know. I'm really happy that I got back into it. Like, it's been such a nice community. And it's one of the things I love about the hobby is that I can be sat here painting a little Lord of Virulence or something, but I still feel connected to the thousands of other, millions of other people around the globe doing the same thing.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it was most recently Dan Heraty is my therapy. We were stood at an event. He went, you look at everyone in this room. He's like, and through any other hobby, you would not put us all as friends. He's like, but if you look at Warhammer, then you look at everyone in here, it's the one thing that brings everyone together from every walk of life. And it's just a nice thing that everyone just goes bump. Like you mentioned Chaos, the right person, all that. Like, that's it. It's straight away. It's like friend. It's like
Yeah, honestly.
I want to popularize a quote here. And so this is going to be the first episode I'm going to say it, but we're going to hashtag this. Warhammer is the food of the hobby world.
Yeah, fair. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? Just like
Wait, write
food
that
unites
down.
everybody. It doesn't matter what walk of life, you got to eat. In the hobby space, it feels like you'll always find somebody that has some connection to Warhammer in some way,
Yeah,
whether
not wrong.
it's directly or indirectly. But just quickly focusing it back on you, Matt, I just had a question. When you got that first kit from your friend, do you have any of those miniatures still?
I do, and I'm trying to
Awesome.
think where I kept one of them. So one of them I repainted. So I went through this phase where I was like, my painting got like so much better than where it was before. And I was like, no, I don't like my army. I want to just strip them all. I found out that stripping your models was a thing. So I like stripped them all and repainted them. But I kept the first mini that I painted. And I want to just check if he is around. He's somewhere. I'll have to try and pull him up. But I kept him as a reminder because I was like, this little dude is like one of those guys. He was from the Easy Build Plague Marine set, the one with the blight launcher.
Yeah.
And the
Like
little
one arm,
tentacle
I had
arm.
it under,
Yes,
and
yeah.
tentacle arm and that. Yeah.
It was that dude. And I've still got this thing with the current Death Guard range where I kind of like have mixed opinions about their mutations. And tentacles is one of the things that I'm like, And so I
Yeah.
remember chopping off his tentacle arm and giving him a plasma pistol of all things, because I didn't know anything about gaming at that point. I was just like, looks cool, slap it on.
Yeah. Rule of cool.
The champion as well from that kit. I remember I gave him like a power fist with a plasma gun and a blight launcher, and I was like, look how cool this is. And my mate was like, dude, you can't play that in the game. Like, that's just not going to work. So I've got the one model somewhere. I'll have to look around for him. He is somewhere. And then that dude was kind of like that first painted model I did. I kept him. The champion, I've repainted him a few times. He's actually, if you go on my Instagram page, he's the pallid hand dude with the plague spewer.
All right.
So I've got, from that starter set, I've got 2 guys. I can't remember. I think I ended up selling a whole bunch of them because I remember thinking I've got too much stuff here, as we all do. You know, pile of shame, pass it off sort of thing.
Yep.
And then, so I sold a whole bunch of stuff. And then I was like, nah, stuff that. I want to get back into the hobby again. So, the hobby always waxes and wanes for people, I think.
Yeah, agreed. It's
But
the
yeah,
burnout.
but I've got some of them.
Yeah, definitely. So, have you ever been tempted by a loyalist force ever at all?
Again, talking about waxing and waning, I had a Black Templars force.
Wow. Okay.
I bought what was it? The Combat Patrol, the Sword Brethren, and the Marshal, I think.
Yeah. So you had like 5 intercessors, a Crusader squad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
okay. I painted up a couple of test models because the Black Templars, out of all the loyalists, they're my favorite. I like the whole they're like
Zealot.
the loyalist version of Chaos Space Marines, I think, which is why I like them.
Yeah,
fair.
yeah, they are.
So yeah, and then I kind of looked at it like, man, I spend ages painting. I don't have all the time in the world, with work and everything. So I've kind of just got rid of the loyalists, and I'm focusing now. Death Guards are my main army, and then I've got a few spatterings of other heretics that I sort of, when I get the urge, I paint them up.
Yeah, okay. What about, so I, as a Night Lords fan, I'm going to ask you straight up, why not more Night Lords or Red Corsairs would be the other one that I would like to see you do.
This is funny that Steve brings this up, because Steve, you don't know this, but the day that the Night Lord kit was posted, Matt sent it to me directly and was like, have you seen these?
I also just want to say really fast, I saw what you did to the Imperial Fist Space Marine for adding to your base. Just want to say I'm highly offended. Imperial Fist would never find themselves there. I don't know.
So I have this thing where I can't pick my favorite Chaos Legion. And Iron Warriors are one of my favorites. And I just love the whole spite against Imperial Fist. And back then I had a Black Legion army, and I was like, how can I include that this dude is maybe a former Iron Warrior? And I was like, I know, I could just put a dead Imperial Fist there. And then it kind of worked out, chopping the dude up. So I was like, there you go, he's an Imperial Fist. But I'm on a bit of a roll at the moment. Sorry, yeah?
No, I was gonna say it looks so good, but my heart was hurting.
I'm on a roll at the moment to try and, what's the word, diversify the Loyalist Legion on all my bases. So you look at the trophies and stuff on some of my Chaos Marines. There's a Raven Guard, there's a Black Templar, there's a Blood Angels, Ultramarines. Ultramarines are kind of the standard, though.
Good.
I won't even go into this because it knows my head. The new Victrix Guard, I've been given a box by a certain person. And I'm now, for the first time ever in my hobby journey, painting Ultramarines, and it disgusts me yet pleases me at the same time. I hate blue, but love it at the same time, because for an heavy metal style, it's beautiful to do. It's so clear. It's like easy mode. It's just like, there's a highlight.
And also,
done.
The thing that I like is the Ultramarines, I do like their models, and I think that's just because maybe we're all conditioned to see them as the poster boys. But that new set of Ultramarines that came out, I was like, man, I dislike seeing how many loyalists consistently come out, but those models are beautiful.
Yeah,
I looked at them and I was like, well done, G-Dub. Well done. You actually made me think that Primaris are actually looking okay now.
Do you know why I think these models specifically are so they almost seem like their own tier now? And I think it's because it's the first time, personally, when I look at those, there was no question whether that is an Ultramarine or for a generic chapter.
Yeah, agreed.
And we've talked about this on a previous episode as well, where when a lot of kits come out, although Ultramarines are the poster boy, they don't really have a specific Ultramarine thing. If you look at a Warsmith, you're probably going, yeah, that's an Iron Warrior. It's very clearly an Iron Warrior. But you look at a Tech Marine model and you're like, oh, it could be anything.
Well, I think what he's getting at there is
versus
Warsmith, if you get a Warp Smith for the Iron Warriors, you recognize it straight away, don't you? That's it.
Yeah. So with these, it almost feels like, yeah, that's Ultramarine now, and it's like they kind of have their identity built back in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's some of that's picking up now, isn't it? I think massively is they've realised the community is sort of going, we don't want a bland desolation marine. We don't want a box set painted as Ultramarines. We want Ultramarines, or we want Blood Angels, or we want Dark Angels. Like, look at the Space Wolf refresh. I got that because it actually felt like Space Wolves again. Like, Night Lords in their kill team actually feel like Night Lords, unlike the new Raptors
Yeah.
next year, which are painted as Night Lords. It's two
Can't
very,
wait for those.
very... It's two very different
No,
entities.
I do think G-Dubs is going the way of kind of like looking at what people want and saying upgrade sprues seem to be the way, because it's like you say, it's the same. If we're talking about Chaos, it's the same with Black Legion. Every Chaos Marine is a Black Legion Marine, but they just generic, you want to paint them
Yeah, yeah.
red, cool, they're word bearers. But I do think that G-Dubs kind of needs to go down the route of upgrade sprues for every Legion, because Black Legion, yes, they're a mix of everyone, but like adding the Eye of Horus onto someone, or a specific style of a Legion Marine or something, that goes so far for me painting or just having a
Yeah, yeah.
unique sculpt in your army. And I look at the Ultramarines that have come out, and I actually think one of the reasons I like them so much is they remind me more of the classic Marines
Yes.
than they do of Primaris Marines.
Yeah.
That's because that's my one gripe with the Primaris. I love them, but I just think they look so bland. And I'm like, I bring back banners and like
Yeah.
50,000 chapter relics all over the dude, because it looks so cool.
But we've gone full circle. Like early 2000s, we got like Thousand Suns upgrades for like Marines. We had Plague Marine upgrades through Forge World. We had every upgrade possible. Then they launched Primaris and went, here's a lot of blank, boys. Like, we're not doing this anymore. And now, 6 years later, we've gone, do you know what we like? You like Victrix Guard and Calgar? Here's a re-release. So here's a re-release. It's now 20% bigger and costs 6 times the amount. So it's like, there you go. Like, it's nice that they're doing it though. Like, I will agree. Like, I started a breastplate today, and the detail's the right amount now compared to before, where because it was this big, and it was all resin, it was a bit disgusting to paint. But
I
now
know.
in plastic, it's quite nice.
Yeah.
Matt, when it comes to doing chaos stuff though, like the always inevitable gripe with the chaos side of things is the amount of trim they have.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a time for you where you're like, okay, this is too much, and you almost have to put it down, work on something else, and come back to finish the trim? Or have you kind of built up the patience now to just tackle all the way through it?
I think there was a model, I can't remember which one it was, the Lord Discordant, and I think the Hellbrute, like any vehicle with a lot of trim, I get it, but I'm like, man, this is a lot of trim. And you get caught between, do I just spray paint it gold and then fill in the black bits, or do I paint it black and then fill in the gold? And it does make me sort of look at a project and I'm like, I can't. Like, I don't know, because I'm currently painting up, like you may have seen, that Lord of Virulence. And compared to the rest of the Death Guard range, he's barely got any trim on him. I actually don't think he's got any. And that's been like quite fun, but I'm also finding I'm missing a lot of the details because you can add so much weathering to it.
Yeah.
I think the issue with Chaos is that there's a lot of the old stuff is still in use and they haven't been updated. So like I look at the Helldrake, for example. I've never painted one, but I look at that and I'm like, no, I'm not painting that, because I'm not sitting there highlighting 50,000 pieces of trim.
Yeah, the trim on that is so far to the extreme, like over the wings and everything, just the way they did it. I'm not complaining about the aesthetic. I think it looks, personally, I love the Helldrake kit, the way it looks. It's kind of a pain to put together, but painting it is an absolute nightmare because, one, not only is there the amount of trim that you're talking about, but the way that the wings layer onto each other, you have to almost paint them separate to get like a full paint one on them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Because you can't get a brush in some of these areas. So it almost forces a sub-assembly. The trim on it is more than any other kit by far. And you do get to that point that you said, Matt, where it's like, okay, well, do I paint it black and then gold, or do I gold then black, because of the sheer amount you have to do on the wings? And I think you're right. I think that, you were kind of in this funny halfway point now where it's like leaving the trim takes away weathering option, but then having too much trim and people don't want it.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult because, like, I love Black Legion, and I actually find them so much quicker to paint than Death Guard, but I'm always brought back to Death Guard because of all the little details.
Yeah.
And trim is one of those things where it's like, it's a pain to paint, but it looks so good when it's finished. And so you kind of like, I want to make this model look good, but I can't be bothered painting all of the trim. And I think for me personally, one thing that I've realized is that I love painting all the tiny little details, and I like making my models look good. But there's certain models that you actually like contrast paint, few washes, and you're good to go. And I've started to realize that more now. And I look at something like maybe a Hell Drake. Maybe that's the way to do it. You know, black contrast paint, sprayed
Yeah,
gold,
maybe.
boom, 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 done. You don't have to worry about it, and it's fine on the tabletop.
I can't do it. That sentence has made me sad. I just can't do it. I've never ever, other than for yellow, where I touch Imperial Fist, I've never touched contrast. Speed paint, nothing. Everything I do like
Craziness.
with glazes, with everything else, just never contrast. I can't bring
You
myself
say
to
that
do it.
though. I was very much like you. Like I wanted to master like a heavy metal style, but I like my models looking good, but I also like my sanity. And
Yeah.
when you on your like 50th glaze, I'm like, contrast is so much easier, man. Like for poxwalkers, there's 20 of them or whatever. I'm like
Yeah,
green,
no, well,
green, green, grey, Gilliman splash, all that sort of stuff. Done. Move on to the next.
that's fair. That is fair. Like I've just accepted that I'm doing a 2,000 point Black Legion army, and I've had this same discussion with you, Max, haven't I? Is do I just spray it gold and then just fill it in because it's like 2 Mauler Fiends, 2 Forge Fiends, 3 Venom Crawlers, like 20 Marines, 10 Warped on. I'm like, it's just trim. I'm like, and that is the one thing I despise is sitting at a
Yeah.
table and like a 2,000 point and just going, I've got so much gold to paint. I
Do
don't
you
want to
do you
do that.
batch paint your minis? Do you do like a squad of Chaos Marines, or do you do each one at a time?
I do each one at a time, and that's why they take me so long. Like on my feed, I'll do like one, like this Ultramarine I'm doing now, I'll do one Victrix Guard, and I'll spend like 30 hours on him, and then I'll be like, right, I'll now do another Orruk from Age of Sigmar, and this is why it's just going to take me so long
I
because I
know.
just can't. Yeah, I just don't do it.
I see. I was the same. Like I love painting like all the little details, but I looked at someone like the Poxwalkers. I had the idea that all the little unique sculpts that you can't get anymore. Like I'm going to paint these so detailed and they're going to look so good. But I actually got to a stage where I'm like, I want a painted army more than I want like a highly detailed Poxwalker. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
did 10 Poxwalkers, like just contrast and then washes, and I actually found that a lot of cutting corners just involve technical paint. Like the
yeah,
grimdark aesthetic. Not that I want to go that way, but a lot of it is based off technical paint.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I
definitely.
like look at Poxwalkers. It's different with Death Guard, I guess, but the same applies to Cultist. You just slap on like parts of it, like the skin tone. You do it with the contrast paint, and then
Yeah.
you can do your
And then just
highlights
highlight
after that if you want.
slightly. Yeah, you
Yeah,
could just pick it up slightly after you've got a base down, and then yeah, no, that would work. That would. So for me then, my previous question, Red Corsairs, why have they never tempted you? Because you could do every single faction, and the current rumor is Huron is getting a model. Like if
I
Huron
know.
Black new model, I will go Chaos because I love them.
So you know what my thing is, that I end up in this position where I want to paint every single Chaos Legion, and I look
Yeah,
at Shiva paints minis. I don't know if you've seen
yeah,
him. So
I do. Yeah, I
he's like
follow Shiva intently.
he's the Corsair master, and I'm like, one, I can't match his like the level of patience to do that much
Okay.
detail.
Yeah.
But I think I've already got the Night Lords kill team, so I painted up I think 4 of them, and then I was like, this is taking too long with all of the lightning bolt. But I do want to, like, if Huron and them get a release, I'll buy the minis and paint them, because the kind of lore in my head with my Black Legion force is that it's kind of like they're going on a Black Crusade, and there's all of these armies that have now joined together. And I think for me, I can fit in Red Corsairs into that. So I've
Yeah.
been very tempted. It's the same with the Death Guard. I I like Pallet Hand, so I've just said in my army there's a little detachment of Pallet Hand.
Yeah, no, they are a very nice colour scheme with the palette hand. I do like it. But when you're doing your death guard, are you someone who on your palette sets everything out, pre-done, like all your colours, or do you sort of go with it organically, change your weathering for each model, or have you got like a set way to do things?
If you looked at my hobby desk right now, I'm not going to show it, but it is a tip. It is like I'm very chaotic with how I work. There's actually I got someone gave me some Blight Lords the other day. I've got bits of Blight Lords on here. I've got paints down there. I've got Tallyman who's next up on the line. I the way I paint is like, so for the Death Guard, for example, I'll do the green, then I'll do all of the metals. So I'll do the like the gold trim, then I'll do the actual lead vulture, tidy up all of the green, and then I'll do a heavy wash, or not heavy, but like Agrax wash. let
Yeah,
that to dry. Then I start picking out details. So I kind of do all of the base, then the highlights, and work that way. I've actually started like with this Death Guard, this Lord of Virulence. I started like, okay, cool. He's only got a little belly on him. That's the only flesh he's got on him. Let me just blitz that. And so I just did the whole thing with the belly, all the glazes, highlights, all of that. I was like, cool, that's done. Let me move on to the next section. So I don't know. In my head, it makes sense with how I work, but
yeah, no, no.
it's a bit like my own order. I do mix it up at times. I kind of go from like, let me focus on the medals to let me do the armor highlights, all that sort of stuff.
Is there like a certain weathering that you love then? So like I know a lot of people on Death Guard go for like oxidization on like the bronze to copper and stuff like that. So is there something that you see as like a key point of your Death Guard? Like I know your pallid hand is a very specific scheme. A lot of people try and master it, like they do, because it comes down to that similar, that lighter scheme instead of anything else. But is there anything that you love specifically doing?
So there's two things. One is flesh. I love doing like rotten flesh and stuff. Weirdly enough, I probably wouldn't want to do like a whole fleshy army because I get to a certain point where I get irritated with it. But I probably think it's either the verdigris or the rust. Because for me, and Max, you may remember this, when I first started my Death Guard, I didn't have any rust on them. I kind of like eventually bought it when I went over to the UK for a second time. And my mate was like, oh yeah, he was using thin down riser rust for some of his stuff. And he was like, you should try it. And I was like, okay, let me give it a bash. Tried it. And I was like, hey, this looks really good. And then everyone was like, how did you do the rust? Like, how did you do this? And I was like, hey, well, seems to look good. People seem to like it. And then
Yeah,
it's just become something standard now, like watered down riser rust, quick and easy, or maybe not quick, but it's easy to do. And
yeah.
that's probably my favorite weathering because it brings a model to life so quickly.
Have you ever considered the dirty down products then?
Yeah.
Like the sort of enamel base, like really rust. Like you put it on and then you like watch everything transform in 5 seconds.
I have. I've actually got the AK rusts as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I tried them, but I didn't like I know this sounds weird. Compared to my army, it changes the aesthetic a bit. Because
Yeah,
I've got this like really rich orange from Citadel paints, and then the the AK paints and the dirty down. I think there's a slightly different color, but I do really want to try it. I think where I would want to definitely try it is on vehicles and terrain because it makes it
yeah,
so much easier when you're just going over a section.
yeah, yeah.
The characters, I quite enjoy the controlling how much rust I can put on. So yeah.
No, that's fair. That is fair. No, that's fair.
Do you have any techniques that kind of like sound crazy or insane, but it's just kind of like you have to try, like trust me, you just have to try it and it works?
Yes and no. So obviously the rust at first, everyone thinks that as a dry brush paint that's all it's for, but watering it down and actually using it as paint. I think mixing Blood for the Blood Garden with black and trying not to slap that on, and you use it as like a dark, like almost like a dried blood, or in my like with Death Guard, like a rotten blood look goes so well. And not a lot of people do that. I've kind of like looked through people, and I think a lot of people just slap Blood for the Blood God on and are like, cool, that looks good. But when you're trying to like mix up the tones or give it a little bit of a rotten effect, that goes really far. So I think for me, there's that, and then using Lupercal green and a bit of Baharoth blue for verdigris is also another good one.
Lupercal green's an interesting one. Like I wouldn't have actually assigned that. I would have gone like Sybarite maybe, but like Lupercal green's nice. Yeah, fair shout for that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So Max, the only thing you've missed there is that he's tempted to do Corsairs.
Yeah, no, we've
If it comes about,
we've chatted about this because that was like the rumor or the so-called rumor right now about what's might be the Christmas reveal. Maybe by the time this airs, we'll know. But I believe that's what we're rumored at.
yeah, it's definitely rumored due to like all the new chaos trim that they've done. It looks like an apothecary, doesn't it? Like on the rumor mill, they're like, oh, it looks like the next apothecary, which would very
Yeah.
much go for Corsairs. And if nothing else, a box set like we've had. Funnily enough, we discussed it last week. So we've had the Black Talon box set and the Hell's Last. So like the character box set of 4 or 5. If they don't get a full release, I can see a book release with, hey, here's Huron's new model. Here's the Chief Apothecary. Like they'll do it like that. And yeah, it'll be a £50 box, but it would sell out instantly. I feel would be the thing. Everyone loves Corsairs.
The way I see it going is that I think G-Dubs has kind of clocked onto these like command box sets and these character box sets that are like you know, rather than selling a single character for £28, we can sell 2 of them for, you know, 60 quid or
Yeah, yeah.
something. And I do think that there's a lot more. I find G-Dubs is in this weird position where they're looking back, and I understand their pricing and everything as a company, because at the end of the day, they have to make money. But I think they look back on things like, okay, what is our mainstays? Okay, let's sell Space Marines, Space Marines, Space Marines. But a lot of people are actually like, if you give us some really cool models, I don't care what army they are, I just want to paint them.
Yes.
And something like with Chaos, with, you know, a box set coming out, people look at that and are like, hey, I'm jumping. I mean, that's how I got into Death Guard, was looking at cool models.
Yeah.
And I think if they do that, like a little mini release, I guess, or similar to what the Ultramarines got, people I think would really flock to that, especially for Corsairs.
Yeah. So,
So we'll see.
and sorry, just a quick question, just to tie it back just a little bit. When you're doing your like verdigris, your rust, your rotted flesh, things like this, your dried blood effects, where do you find your inspiration for this stuff? Like, do you just go through Instagram? Is it like Pinterest, or do you just like, you know, look at like, I don't know, like
The-
where do you find the inspiration of how far to take it?
So I know this makes me sound like such a nerd, and I fully embrace it. Before I go to bed, as I'm drifting off to sleep, I often think about models. I'm like, I really need to do that rust effect sort of thing. And my wife is probably like, um, but it's one of my big things at the moment is Instagram is so good for getting inspiration. And I've been on a little bit of a rant recently with how much exposure Instagram's been giving people. There's a lot of people who I've been following for years, and I just don't see their work anymore. And I know that's happened with me, and like people don't see my work so much, and it's this whole long story. But for me, I'll scroll on Instagram during my lunch break at work, or if I've got a free 5 minutes or something like that, and I'll pop up and I'll see this, and I'm like, oh, that's really cool. Or like I'll be listening to a story and it'll describe about like how a Death Guard character looks. And I'm like, hey, that sounds really cool to do. So it's from all over really. Pinterest is another big one.
Mhm.
I look up like Light Lord conversion or something, and then it'll come up with a cool model, and I'll save that. And then like see some how someone's done their rotten skin, and then I save that. And then when I'm like, flip, I don't know how to paint this model, I go through and look through all of the saved posts. So Instagram for me is the main source of inspiration, I would say.
So what you described there sounds like that meme where it's like the couple laying in bed, and then she's like, oh, he's probably thinking about other girls. And then it's just Matt, and it's like rust, verdigris, blood.
Literally. My wife has openly said to me, she's been like, you know, one thing I love about you, Matt, is that a lot of these other guys are probably going out and partying and, you know, like getting hammered and flirting with other girls. Like, I don't even have to worry about that with you, because you just sit at your desk and paint your minis. And I'm like, yeah, that's, you know,
Yeah, that's
that's
true.
my happy space.
Just on the
Yeah.
topic of Instagram at the minute then, and inspiration, Gold Demon is happening as we speak. Has there been any specific model that has really stood out to you? Like, I know mine is that wizard that Alberto's done, and yes, he's won 2
Yes.
awards in 2 years, and I absolutely despise him partially, because every time I see them come up, I'm like, oh look, he's got a Lumineth and grafted a face off an Eldar and put it on top of the Lumineth, and he's made it look seamless. I'm like, cheers, mate. I'm just going to pack up my brushes, like,
That's it. I'm done.
yeah, literally, that's been me. Like, I go on and someone's done like Space Wolves. This is the Blood Mars. I'm like, yeah, cheers, right? That's my project gone. I'm like, I'm just packing everything in. Luckily, no one's done an Ultramarine this year, so that's it now. I'm boys in blue. That's it.
Yeah. I don't know. To be honest, I've had like a really busy weekend for some reason, so I actually haven't seen a lot of the posts. I've
Great,
been
man.
like glimpsing through, and I haven't really seen. I've seen Alberto's work, I think,
Yes, it's like a wizard
but I
on
haven't
like.
actually. Yes, yeah, like, and there's bookshelf and
Yes,
everything
yes.
with it.
Yes,
But I've not had a chance to actually go through everyone's work. And again, this is Instagram with its algorithm. A lot of those people I see like 2 weeks later, and
Yeah.
I'm like, why
Yeah.
was I not showing this post like when it came up?
yeah.
So yeah, to answer your question, I actually don't know enough to give you an answer. I haven't seen enough of the work recently. That's going to be me tonight. I'm going to be
Yeah.
scrolling
Yeah, that'll
through
be
trying
it.
to
You'll be
find
going in
everyone's
like
things.
tonight and be like, look, this is what I wanted to say.
Now, have you?
I will say the one thing on that topic I have seen this year that's terrified me is Youngbloods. If you've
Yes.
seen it, when you get a chance to look at, there's been like a 12-year-old who did an Ogrin from Necromunda. and he makes me look like I'm a toddler with my painting.
Really?
I'm like, for 12 years old to do that, that's insane. Like, fair play. Like, I really hope he places really well this
Well,
year.
and
That
the
was,
amazing
yeah,
thing too is like Matt has mentioned, with the when Instagram is doing its proper exposure and everybody is able to see everything fast and its algorithm or whatever is good, young kids like that, like I'm sorry, like that needs to be like presented, because do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Like for somebody that young to be that talented at something, like dude, this should be your career. This is like, if this is your passion in life and this, and you're this young at this talented of a level, like you're like that little gemstone that people find. But when Instagram doesn't do their thing, it feels like it also like crucially hurts younger or people up and coming artists.
Mhm.
Maybe not younger, but up and coming
yeah, yeah,
artists the most, right? Because if you already have a big page and a big following and you lose like 30% of viewership or whatever, yeah, but you're still hitting like 8+K versus somebody who's at like 500 losing 30% of that. Like that's a pretty big drop in
Yeah.
number, right?
yeah. No, it is definitely.
And that's the gripe that I've had. I know like my account has grown quite a lot, and I'm very privileged to have quite a big following. But I think the part that I get so frustrated with is that there's all of these cool people out in the hobby that, I mean, like, look at how I met Max, was just through Instagram exposing each other's
Yeah.
work. And
Yeah,
I feel like now, like, people don't see my work, and it's frustrating because you lose that bit of that hobby connection, because now I'm showing my work to the same 4 people or whatever that see my work. I
yeah,
want
yeah,
that exposure again where I'm seeing lots of different people and I'm seeing their work. They're not just seeing mine.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see what everyone else is doing. I want to be shown Death Guard and all this. But Instagram's algorithm at the moment is just, I don't know what's going on with it. It's either 50,000 reels that have no relation to what I actually want to look at, or it's just like some random chaos marine, and I'm like, that's cool. Oh, look, an Alda, and flick past the Alda, and it's like, you spend a second longer on the Alda. Here's Alda, and I'm like, I don't want to see that.
Yeah.
Endlessly.
yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know. The Instagram algorithm, I've kind of, it really got me down at one point,
Yeah.
like not too long ago, because I was like, I'm pouring so much time into this, not to get like likes and all this. It's just to share my work with people, and I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
it's so frustrating. And I can imagine for someone who's just getting into the hobby is like, man, this is so cool. Check what I've done. And then it's like crickets. They see like 2 people like, hey, keep up the good work. And it's like, okay.
Well,
Because
Yeah.
that's what motivated me really well, was having that exposure.
Well, and sorry to even add to that, I think the another harsh part of it is if you're somebody who's like Matt, like you do quite a few kip ashes too, especially with your Death Guard, like you love mixing up the chaos bits, which I think is incredible in its own right, because a lot of the chaos stuff now is interchangeable. Anyways, that's another topic.
Mm.
But one thing is, like, when you're mid project and you're like, oh, I'm looking for that motivation for that last, right arm or that last helmet. And then it's like, you spend hours and hours trying to find inspiration, searching, and you find it like 2 weeks after the project. And you're like, man, if I had just seen this 2 weeks ago, that's the perfect helmet. But now I've already primed it. It's glued, it's sealed, it's,
Mhm.
whatever it is. And
Yeah.
it's like you almost miss out on these super creative new ideas that you could incorporate into your work while you're doing it. And I think that's where it kind of hurts things. But just to flip it back a little, have you yourself ever considered doing a golden demon, or do you have future
Yeah.
plans to do one?
I did think about
You
it.
should.
My big issue
100%.
is I do think about it, but my issue at the moment is I kind of think in my head, and I know this is not the right way to think. I don't genuinely believe this. There's so many good painters out there that I'm like, I'm gonna enter in and I'm gonna be like all the way down at the bottom kind of thing. I don't actually believe that, but I also look at how much time people pour into it.
Yeah.
Like, like I've spent 6 months on this. Like, I mean, I can't remember who it was. Someone I was following was like, there's only 2 weeks left, and they painted like half a model, and they've been painting this model for months, and they're like, I'm never going to finish. And I look at that and I'm like, for me to sit there and do 50,000 glazes and like highlight the back pipe that's behind the
Yeah.
dude's head, I'm like, that's what puts me off. I'm like, maybe not.
Yeah, I
No,
would agree with that.
understandable.
Yeah,
But I think like when I next, the big thing for me is being on the other side of the world. Like Zimbabwe is all the way down at the bottom of Africa. It's like near South Africa. For me to like get anywhere, you've got to fly to the other side of the world. My wife's family is still in England and all that, so we do come across, but it's trying to like time that actually that competition's going on when we're there and all that sort of stuff. So immediately, no, I don't have any plans, but maybe in the future it'll be something that I actually want to start doing.
yeah. I think gold demons are very much It's 50-50. Like, I'm going to Adepticon next year with Max, and after seeing everyone's entries this year in Gold Demon, I have been very 50-50
No, I'm doing
if
it.
I'm going
I'm
to paint
entering.
something
I'm
today.
entering. I don't care.
Yeah,
Go
I
for it,
I
know.
dude.
don't
I
care.
mean,
Honestly, I've said this.
it's hard because I see both
No,
sides.
no,
Like, I see the side of like, screw it, I am a good painter, I'm doing it. But equally, like, I have looked at those posts this weekend and been like, holy crap. I've been like, the talent pool is insane. Like, this year, that guy who's done Lord Croak and done like all actual nature colours, and I'm like, that's disgustingly good. Like, if I enter fantasy and that's someone I'm going to be up against, I will walk away. I'll put my model in and then I'll be like, right, I'm going to be happy to get a commended pin. Like, thank you for noticing me. Like, when there's people like that on show, I think it is easy to get lost in the whole aspect of, is it going to be good enough? Because that talent, as I say, as Matt said, the talent pool is so vast now that like Alberto spent a year doing that piece. Like, he literally has painted that from finishing Gold Demon, getting a Slayer sword, and has gone, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get another one. And just
Yeah.
gone, like, and spent a year painting a single piece and converting it. And then if we spend like 6 months, we know that I could sit here and paint glazes for hours. It's then when these people, like you say, Matt, who will do it and then strip and redo it and strip and redo it and strip and redo it. And then I'm like, "Nah, I don't have that patience."
I saw someone strip like this beautiful helmet. They're like, I didn't like the way the color looked on this, and they stripped it. And I was like, mate, if that was my piece, I would have framed that head and be like, look what I did, you know.
One of my
Exactly
resume.
that.
But and it comes down to like, at least for me, I've never used to play as regularly as I do now. But now that I'm playing 40k as much as I do, I'm like, I actually just want to start finishing an army. You know, like I want to have 2,000 points of Death Guard that when my mate's like, hey, do you want to play Warhammer this weekend? I'm like, yeah, cool. Whip them out, and I'm not using grey plastic the whole time.
Yeah.
So I am inclined to be like, once I've got a nice playable army, then I can start focusing on some of these like big painting projects. But the moment I'm just like, I've got a huge pile of shame, army's not finished, I need to get painting kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's difficult, but like I think if you can and you're in the position to enter it, then go for it, because it seems like such a cool event to get into.
I've openly said, and I will keep saying this. I am a speed painter, and I am entering Golden Demon with speed paints only, just to show like you should be confident in your work, regardless of whether you're a speed painter, heavy metal style. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Be confident in your stuff and be proud of everything you do. Because at the end of the day, we
Yeah.
look at it more than anyone else in the world. You will see your piece more than anyone else in the world. That's just the reality, right? So at the end of the day, like I just want to show people like be proud of it, and that even something as
Yeah.
it's like going back to, and I know I've talked about this a lot because it's like the only thing I've gotten praise on. But anyways, the I have the Azerman cape that I did, and everybody was like freaking out about it, like how did you do
Yeah.
this? And it was like, guys, again, one coat of paint, one contrast paint over it. But if you have to master the undercoat for contrast, that's the key with contrast.
Appreciate.
If your undercoats are not perfectly blended and they don't have a perfect transition, your glaze on top never will. It's impossible, right? But I think one thing that you brought up there that I really like is the fact of how you can use gaming to then be your motivating factor to keep on painting.
Yeah.
And I think this is the part of the hobby that I really love, because again, I've kind of stepped away from the 40k gaming side of things because of how competitive I've personally feel it is. But I love seeing and hearing the fact that people are just gaming it, having fun with, with your buddies at your local pub or whatever. And it's like the driving force behind wanting to finish a whole army. Because I think, as somebody, like I have one fully painted army, but seeing it all on the table, you're like, I know why I did this. This is so gorgeous. And thank goodness for all those hours. And
Exactly.
you forget about all your neck pain really quickly when you see it on the table. I promise that.
Literally, I the exact same thing is before I met these guys in Zim who I could play 40k with, I was like getting to that point where I was like, maybe I'll just paint up a squad, like sell it, get rid of it, like cut down how many models I have. And then this guy that I've met, like he's such a nice dude. He's got 20,000 points worth of Chaos Marines, just Chaos Marines, and he's got 1,000 Suns. He's getting rid of his Death Guard, but he's got like World Eaters. He has got so many different armies, and that motivated me because I was like, right, I actually want to start painting units so that when we're playing, we've got cool painted terrain. We got sponsored actually for some of these maps, which are really awesome.
Nice. Okay.
And I look at that and I'm like, that motivates me now. So like, actually, I'm painting my Lord of Virulence now because I'm thinking okay, cool. The next thing after him is maybe a Tallyman. Then I want to get some Death Shroud done so I can run him with like a Lord of Contagion and start doing them in squads, which I never did before. I used to be like, he has a cool looking Plague Marine, he has a cool looking World Eater, he has a cool looking Black Legion, and they're useless on a tabletop.
Yeah.
So the gaming side is a really big motivating factor, I think.
No, and I agree, and I love to see that side of the hobby versus just the whole, hey, competitive, bring what's best, and once that's not the best thing, get rid of it, move on to the next thing. And I get on a business side of things, like, yeah, I would push that too. Honestly, if I was running a multi-million-dollar business, I would push that too. I'm not gonna lie. But
Yeah, yeah.
on the consumer side of things, and somebody who just loves the passion of getting into it for the narrative side of things, and more of the lore inside and the hobby side of it instead of the competitive side, that's something that even somebody like newer, somebody like Kim can use as a motivating factor when people's motivations may be down, is honestly grab your stuff, go play a small game with your buddy, and trust me, you'll go back and those miniatures you'll want to look better for next time.
Well, the first time,
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. And
oh, sorry.
sorry, no, carry on.
I was going to just say, the first time we actually played a game, I think I only had one model painted in my Soul Blight. And as soon as I saw it on the table, I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, we can just stop playing now. I want to go back and paint. Like, I want
Yeah.
everything done. It just looks and adds so much to the actual gameplay when they're all painted and actually looking like an army and a unit.
I know, and that's one of my favorite things is like at the end of finishing painting up a model is like putting your Lord of Contagion or your character with a squad, and it's like how do I just frame this? Like how do I put this everywhere in the house?
Like a proud mom being like, or like a proud parent being like come take a picture.
Getting all
Literally.
the kids together.
Everyone
Yeah.
smile, group in.
I get my wife and I'm like, look what I painted. And she's like, that's so cool, well done. And she's like, what is it?
They're so nice.
Fair. So here's one though. So you've spoke a lot about like Instagram and everything and how it affected you. Have you ever had like the hobby burnout side? And if so, how have you dealt with it? Because I think that's something that a lot of people get and they don't really know. They'll just like either abandon the
Yeah.
hobby or like they're like, right, that's it. As you said before, like they'll just go, I've got a pile of shame as such, gone, and that's it. They stop painting. Have you got any like key tips for people if it's flip project, or anything like that that'd help
Yeah.
people?
I do suffer from hobby burnout at times, like especially when I'm working on a model I don't want to paint. I'm like, I need this for my game, but I really can't be bothered. Like I actually started, the Gellerpox,
Infected.
the dude with like the guts hanging out in the big
Yeah.
arm. I wanted
Yeah.
to turn that into Chaos Spawn, and so I started it, and then I started doing the skin, and then I was like, nah. So I just chucked him away, and like I use him every now and then, but I look at that, and the easiest way that I've always come back from hobby burnout is take a little bit of a break, like stop painting. The only pressure is on yourself, unless obviously you're entering like Golden Demon or something. But I personally will take a break of like a day or two, play some video games, go do something with my wife or whatever. But then I try and change the project. So I look at setting up. So when I'm like tired of painting, if I've just finished something and I'm exhausted and I'm like, I don't want to paint anything new, then I put the paintbrushes away and I start building and converting and like playing with a new project. And then when I get tired of that, recently, about a year ago, I got tired of Death Guard. And I was like, I got into Black Legion and I was like, that reignited the love. And I was like, getting so many Black Legion done, and then that stopped, and I was like, okay, cool, shiny Death Guard. And then I went back into Death Guard, and I tend to move through cycles like that, which is why like I'm trying to push to get a lot finished so that I know that when I reach the end of this like next burnout, I start something new.
Right.
So I mean, even listening to audiobooks, flicking through a codex, it can be anything, I just find like that sort of stuff motivates me, even if it's like a video or something.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
So I have a question, and
I knew you did because I saw you.
I have something.
It's the evil hands,
Years
isn't it? That's what
early.
he does. He does the evil hands and he leans forward like some evil storyteller.
So most of you may not know this, and to anybody listening who's not watching this on YouTube, we will be making a post about this. But if you're watching, you get to see this firsthand. So Matt, you may or may not remember what this is.
Yeah, I think I know it.
Yeah, you do. So to anybody who may not know, Matt, you used to also do drawings. Do you ever do drawings now to help you with hobby burnout? And just to show everyone, this was the one that Matt did for me back in the day.
That's incredible, mate.
Okay. It's a little bright on the camera. We're going to take a proper photo. I still have it, obviously. I have it and it's actually displayed in my hobby room because this was something that you did back in the day. I think you actually did this as like a hobby break to stop in between painting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was. I was at university, and like, as a student, I actually come from an art background. Like, I did a fine arts degree, and I've got a very artistic family, and so like I've always done art, and Warhammer's just been another outlet for that art, actually. But those drawings I was doing at university when I was like, flip, I need the extra £50 for my Warhammer, my Warhammer. And so I stopped doing them just because I was like, with work and everything, I was like, it's too much time taken out of my hobby time, and hobby time was becoming precious. But I'm torn. I know this is going off the hobby, but I do actually like want to get back into my own art, like non-related to Warhammer, like my own artistic
Yeah.
side. I've had major burnout on that side that I've not touched it. So I do want to get back into it. I think painting Warhammer or drawing Warhammer for me it would reignite it, but I feel like I'm more focused on the painting, like actually painting minis now than I am the drawing side of it.
Right.
I think I would look at getting back into it. I do every now and then. I get like spurts of like, oh, I want to get into it and draw another plague marine. But I'm my own worst critic at times, and I kind of like look at something on trying to draw a marine, and I'm like, no, that's not good enough. I don't like it. Close the book, throw it away, kind of thing.
No, and I think it's great that, you recognize that there's a part of your artistic self that maybe is not being fulfilled, because I think a lot of people may experience that. And as somebody who's also new, like yourself, Kim, we've talked about this, like you also do like diamond painting on the side, for example, which is completely separate to Warhammer.
A little separate.
But I think like sometimes taking that and just stepping away and, maybe focusing on something that's not hobby related, but still artistic in the same sense can be just that push or motivation or that uplifting feeling that we are looking for sometimes, right? Because sometimes, again, like, yeah, you love the hobby and everything, but it's almost like that last bit is missing or something, if that makes sense.
And I think like for me, like I just love Warhammer. It's maybe I may find that in 5 years' time, I just kind of lose interest and don't want to do it or whatever. But at the moment, like I adore it. And I find with work, when I'm kept away from my painting desk, I just sit there thinking about when I do get back to my painting desk, what I want to do is X, Y, and Z. So that like motivates me in itself.
Yeah.
But I definitely, like, at the end of the day, everyone's different. So like some people may find that like sketching really helps them. I know, like, I've spoken to people on Instagram who are like, I just did a sketch of a project and then it took me, like, I dived headfirst into it. For me, I think I'd probably get back into my artistic side that's separate from Warhammer before I got back into like sketching Warhammer, like not full time, but like as much as I did before. Because it is a time consuming thing. And I look at it like like back then I was kind of doing it like, to get a little bit of money and all that sort of stuff. And I enjoyed it. But now with working full time and, like time's precious, I'm like, I kind of don't want to spend 15 hours drawing a couple of Chaos Space Marines when I can actually paint the Chaos Space Marines myself.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That is fair. It ends up as time segregation, and it's something we've all changed within all respects. But
Yeah.
so you've gone from one end of the extreme to the other, is what I've discovered here. So you used to be like me, you used to sit and you used to spend like absolute hours, and now you're quite happy with knocking them out for tabletop, which is perfect, really. It gives you balance of both. Out of the two, I know you're into gaming now. Is there anything you miss the most? Do you like miss putting that like 20 hours into a model, or are you now more than content getting that tabletop plus sort of standard?
So my tabletop is like someone else's character level. So it's quick for me when I say that. Like I never used to use much contrast paint, but like for poxwalkers, I'm more than happy to use them because it speeds them
So
up.
good.
But
So good.
like this Lord of Virulence I'm doing, I don't know how well you'll be able to see him. I'm spending
Ooh.
like a lot of time on him
Yeah, you've
because
got the nice
he's a
glazes
character.
around the Yeah.
Yeah, and I think so. His little belly, for example, normally with my other Plague Marines, what I've been doing is actually doing like a quick couple of washes and letting the washers do the painting. Whereas with this guy, I was like, I actually want to go back to doing the sort of glazes. And so I've been glazing his stomach with different paints, and I do miss it, but I think I don't miss it doing on a large scale. So like for a squad of Plague Marines, for however many points they are, I'm happy to like throw in a couple of washes and speed up that
Well, there you
section. So
go.
I don't do it across the whole thing. I just cut a few corners. And it still looks like really good. But with characters, I'm more than happy to spend more time on it.
So for me, the organics is something that I've always struggled with. I've never ever gelled with organics. That's why I've not touched Death Guard. As much as I want to do the Lord of Poxes with the giant sort of monster hunter blade, I've never touched it for that reason. I've been like, there's like fleshy little, like, no. Is there any like set method? Do you just go for like a light skin tone and then go for like a magenta glaze from the sides? Or is there anything that you've ever considered like doing a tutorial on or
Yeah.
something like that sort of side of things?
So I had a Patreon a while ago. Again, I say a while ago, a couple of years ago. It was so time consuming, like with the video editing. I stopped it because I didn't want to be like charging people for all these tutorials when I can't even keep up with making the tutorials.
Fair.
So like personally struggle with flesh sometimes. I've got a picture in my head of what I want it to look like, but it doesn't translate to the paint. So I do a lot of like searching on Instagram, asking people for recipes. There's that heavy metal site, Heavy Metal
Heavy
Archive.
archive.
I go on there.
Oh, okay.
I do look at the model and painting. So for example, pallid hand, and I'd be like, I can't do a color that's going to be as light as the actual armor. So I kind of play with that. Like again, with this Lord of Virulence, I've done his belly lighter so it stands out. I kind of go for a lighter color and then darken it with glazes as opposed to the other way around. So at the moment, I'm been going like a Rakoth flesh with flayed one flesh base, or like a pallid witch flesh with a flayed one base, and 50-50, and then doing that because that seems to work quite nicely. But sometimes I wing it. Sometimes I do iron rack skin and then mix in, a blue wash or something over it.
Yeah,
So
yeah, just to get that tint. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just gonna try put my phone on charge and see if it like sits nicely. It
Yeah,
should
no worries.
sit
No worries at all.
perfectly there. That's amazing. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So painting is one of those things. Like
Yes.
I'm
I
like
think he
you,
was
where I
saying
really want
he's
to do the
gonna
heavy
play
metal style.
Fallen.
But again, I just look at it like sometimes, and I'm like, I've got to cut corners somewhere because
Yeah,
I will paint one plague marine a month, and then I've done a squad in like a whole year. So I'm trying
literally
to be
that.
as quick as I can, and like this little Lord of Virulence, the pipe at the back, or by his bum, no one's gonna see. So I'm just like, I don't need to do highlights there or something. So
Yeah, you don't need to mess about with that part. So you just, yeah, I get you.
yeah.
So is there any loyalist legion you would go back to and pick, barring the Templars? So if I said like now, I know you've said Ultramarines, you really like them for the new release. Like, so is there any one model that you would like at the minute where you'd be like, I'd love to play Calgar or anything like that? Or is it like, would you prefer the 30k like the Praetor? Because he was a stunning model as well. Like,
I don't know about painting it. Actually, no, I do think about painting it. There's not really a set model for it, but I love the Crimson Fists. They were like, I don't know what edition was it, fifth edition, where they were kind of like the poster boys, and
yes,
they were appearing in a lot of the artwork. And that for me, like that was around the time that I first got into 40k. So Crimson Fists are like my second favorite. I don't know a huge amount about them lore wise, but aesthetics wise, they're my second favorite, like ultimate.
yeah, like the Crimson with the, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny, really, because Templars and Fists are related, so they're like cousins. So, right, we've mentioned that the cousins, and what I was handing over to was Kim's quick fire questions. She's done this to me in our introduction. She has done this to Max, and we got the drive doing it back. But Kim loves writing little questions and getting knowledge out of everyone. So we will let
Well,
Kim
they're
take over.
Go for it.
they're yeah, kind of what Steve was saying. They're kind of like jokey, not serious questions. So
She's saying this in
I know,
advance in case she
yeah.
offends.
Don't prepare yourself for. Sorry, I'm just bringing them up. Okay.
And these are fun because these are just live reactions that we get to see to some funny questions people usually don't think about.
But
Okay, cool.
if you could fuse two Primarchs into one, who would you choose and why is it horrifying? That's the Death Guard relatedness, if you couldn't tell.
Mortarian and Perturabo, just for the sheer bitterness that would come out of that.
Same. I would do the
Okay.
exact same.
Okay.
Chunky.
Because could you
yet
imagine
massively
that?
strategic.
It's like literally like Matt. Have you read the what's it called? The War of Rust and Iron.
No, I've seen the thing in the codex. I've read through that. Is that what you mean?
Yes, sorry, where it's like Perturabo versus
Yes, yeah.
Mortarion Reese. But imagine
yeah.
like the horrifying sight of like titanic, rusted, decaying like machines, but they don't stop because they're also the Death Guard side of it. It's like
Yes, I know. And I think for me, like the thing that I love about the Primarchs is the tragicness behind them. Like I lean so much more into that than the like, Perturabo hates the Imperial Fist. And I think Perturabo and Mortarion have got such tragic backstories that I'm like, merge that into one, and all of the like bitterness and horribleness that comes out of that would be so good to
The funniest part about that too is Perturabo and Mortarion were the two generals under Horus, right? Because Horus
Yeah.
first had
I know.
Perturabo lead all the traders, and then when Perturabo was like, "Okay, I'm done," Mortarion took over. So they were literally the two leaders of the War Master.
I know. I know.
Sorry, what was your next question there, Kim?
Okay. Ramping it up. First of all, a good answer. Second question. Suppose there's a alternative universe where miniatures paint you. What kind of canvas or like what kind of theme would they go with or turn you into?
So like, as in like, what colors would they use? Or
Either colors
like
or
colours
like
and
would
style.
you be chaos? Would you be
okay, I think I'd probably be like a renegade chapter. I think kind of like on the good side, you know, those good renegade chapters that kind of like get kicked out by the Imperium, but they're actually still loyal. I kind of feel like just purely based off the fact that I paint chaos, they would be like ding, but I'd be like,
Don't remove me.
okay.
But I feel like that sounds like the most fun though. Just go around, do what you want, see something cool, take it, move on. You know, like
Yeah,
yeah?
we're not traitors, guys.
Yeah.
Landing like we don't have the horns on the helmet. We're the good guys.
Russ.
Anytime a mutation comes up, it's like,
You just
Yeah.
snip.
Goes up inch by inch.
Well, there have been like chapters though that are what's that Blood Angel one, the Knights of Blood or whatever, where they were like
mm,
banished, but
You know
then they
about
were
where
still
they
called back to defend Baal when
No, they weren't called black. They turned
They
up,
turned
and
up.
Dante was like, "What are you doing here? You killed an entire population of people and drank their blood." And they were like, "Well, bro, that's what we do. Sorry about
you
that.
made us this.
You made us this way. Sanguinius chose it. We just live up to it."
Exactly, yeah.
It was like, but if you don't mind, we're here to defend our planet. Yeah, that was an interesting one.
Okay, so this next question is requested by Max to be asked.
Sure.
This is where I'm getting worried. I'm like,
Yeah, you're just looking side-eyeing like, "Oh,
No,
for
this
Christ's
one
sake."
this one's true.
he's like, me?
Would you rather your paint water forever smell like Nurgle's rot, or have every miniature whisper "I love you" to you as you prime them?
I think the I love you one, because I'd just whisper back, I love you too.
But imagine
The
it's like
whole time it's
nurgling, so it'd be like tens of voices at once.
I'd even
Yeah, I think either way you would go insane, because smelling Nurgle's rot every time you paint is like gonna drive anyone insane. And sitting in the corner like Gollum talking to your minis is gonna be, you know, not exactly the healthiest mental person.
Okay, so I have a question then. If Death Guard were suddenly to be removed from the lore and you had to pick a loyalist chapter to turn into Death Guard, which would you pick and why? Like if you
That's
if
a
you had to
hard
pick
one.
like a loyalist chapter to be the new like followers of Nurgle, whereas like to replace Death Guard, what would you pick?
Are we talking first like founding legions or just any chapter?
Let's do an answer for both.
So founding legions, I would probably lean into Imperial Fists, strangely enough.
Ooh, okay.
Just because I feel like the fortification kind of like ties in with the resilience sort of thing. If we're talking about chapters, I don't know too much about them, but I would maybe say Minotaurs, just because I remember I haven't read the book or anything, but I remember reading an excerpt about a custodian really struggling to kill Moloch or Moloch,
Yes.
whatever the chapter
What
master's name
about,
is.
it's called The Regent Shadow. That's the book you're on about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that like for me, that like resilience would kind of tie in with Death Guard as well. Like, okay, cool, they're obviously really hard to kill, so they would fit the role.
I mean, it links back to, I don't know if you've heard of it, the Daunian Heresy, where
Yes.
Sanguinius fell for the Death Guard. Yeah. Like, that was a strange choice for me. I always thought Khorne. I was like, I know it follows what before, but I always thought Blood Angels for Khorne, like the Blood Fierce, like it all matches. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd enjoy the Imperial Fist more, I think.
I actually think
And the
they
yellow with the rock.
didn't do the Blood Angels for that simply because it was like a too easy of an answer.
Yeah, they went Space Wolves, didn't
Yeah,
they?
Yeah.
and then Space Wolves went Khorne, and then Blood Angels went Nurgle, and I think it's like to do with like the diseased blood. I think that was like the thing they were trying to go off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
touching
know.
on that book you're on about, that was an incredible scene. It's the first time anyone has ever had a custodian be scared. Was Moloch
Yes.
walked out because they represent the High Lords of Terror, and the custodians were like, "We don't care if you're a lord, you respond to us because we bring his holy word." And then Moloch came out in his like Spartan armor with the spear and his shield. And this guy was like, in his own head, it was like a transcript. He was like, "That's Moloch. Can I kill this man?" And it was like that self-doubt where a custodian was like, "Oh, shit, like, I can't do this." Yeah, it was a very good scene. It was nice that a space marine actually intimidated a custode instead of just being gods.
Favorite.
That
Yeah.
was nice.
Okay, but last question of the fast round hitting questions. What would a Death Guard motivational poster say if you had to make one?
Like one of those army posters, like "I want you," but if it was a Death Guard one, what would it say?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so many that like, are we talking about like on the Plague Planet or just around the Imperium?
On the Imperium, we'll go with.
Just Nurgling sticking him up.
Yeah. I don't want to ask how they're sticking it up.
No.
Maybe something along the lines of, "Do you want to see your own innards and not die? Join the Death Guard." Yeah, I'll probably go with that one.
Yeah, that's good.
It'd be like, "Get your
Like,
own."
just stomach hanging out. Like, do you want to see
Yeah,
this?
like if you think about it, some of the motivational posters, like it'd be cool to show like some dude with like a heavy bolter and then the round like bouncing off a Death Guard or something and be like, "Show your resilience today" or something, you know? Like
I
something
think like I've never been one to like go into the reading side of Warhammer too much, but I've been listening to like Lords of Silence. That's probably
yes,
my favorite book
so
so far.
good,
Ones I've
so
read.
good.
And then I'm listening to, for a second time, The Buried Dagger. I haven't done the Heresy series or anything like that. I just look at a book and I'm like, that sounds cool, click.
Yeah.
And I think recently listening to those two books, it just makes me love Death Guard even more. Like the whole resilience factor of, you know, like in Lords of Silence, like how the one dude takes a full-on power sword, like through the dude, and he just lifts the other like loyalist up and then blasts his head off. And I'm like, that's what the Death Guard are about. It's like,
Yeah.
and it does nothing to the dude. It's just so cool. Like I love that whole aesthetic.
And that's actually the thing that made me fall in love with Death Guard too, because when I picture warfare, honestly, to me, shy of the Night Lords, there is no other army I would hate to fight the most. Because to me, Death Guard are like the sign of despair in the fact of like, you pull out your gun that normally mows people down and the rounds are bouncing off them. And it's like, dude, do you know how much despair you would feel in that moment? Being like, my all powerful thing that normally kills everything literally can't scratch it. What do I do? And in that moment, it's like, it's so like, and then the way they describe it, like the Lord of Silence book is also incredible, by the way. I've actually wanted to kit bash the characters from it because of just like how awesome,
I thought of the same thing.
just how
Yeah.
awesome like the lore actually is. But it's also like this like encroaching like cloud of just like never ending coming towards you. And it's like, dude, like what's scarier than being like, well, I can't stop it. It's gonna get here. Like,
Hopelessness is
Well,
the
exactly.
scariest thing.
yeah.
And that's the thing that I love is that you actually can't run from the Death Guard because like where do you run? Like even in the Lords of Silence, they're trying to you know when they're on the agri world, they're trying to get to the tower, and then there's just like little nurglings that pop up, and I'm like, there's actually no way you can go because a plague marine's going to catch up to you eventually, even if he is like hobbling along. And by the time he gets close to you, you're either going to die of space HIV/AIDS or something like that, or he's going to flip and cut you in half. So it's kind of like, both are horrifying.
Mm.
I think it's that thought though, isn't it? It's like Max said, like you could have like the Ultramarines rock up on the same planet, and you're either going to get trod on from behind while they fight them, or you're going to witness them unpack a heavy bolter, and the Death Guard just continue to walk and be like, "Cheers, man! Like, thanks for
Yeah,
that.
literally,
You've
you
helped me get
cannot
out
kill
that
them. And
pink."
yeah, like a las cannon, it's like I got him, and then the dude just gets up, and you're like, oh no, I didn't get him.
Exactly that. Like, yeah, the Ultramarines. Oh no, It's
Yeah.
like, even less hope.
Have you ever wanted to get into, I know you said you're not into the story side of things, but it is on audiobook, like the Plague War series, to like learn about the modern Mortarian versus like Ultramarine side of things?
So I listened to, I think it was which is the one where the I think it's the first one
Dark
with
Imperium.
Gilliman.
Yeah, there was.
I
There was a
think
Dark
I've listened
Imperium
to that.
trilogy.
Or no, it's the one with the sister, and there's is it Ireland, and there's the girl who sees a vision of the Emperor or something like, I can't remember. I
Oh,
just remember
that's
that sort of particular.
what do you call it? Of the Dawn of Fire series.
Yes.
That's the first one.
Yeah,
I learned
Dawn of
about.
Fire. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was trying to remember
Yeah,
it.
he's
Okay.
thinking of the trilogy, which is the Godblight trilogy. So in the final
Yes,
one,
that's it. You've got the God Blight one. I think
Yes.
that's the one I've listened to. I do want to listen to them. I'm one of those people who sorts of like looks up excerpts and sees little bits of the story. So I've kind of like spoiled it for myself. But my only gripe with how the Death Guard are portrayed is, like I said, I like leaning into the whole tragic thing.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes they make Mortarion and the Death Guard like the cartoon villains,
Yes.
where it's like they always have to lose because they show how strong the heroes are.
Right.
Yes.
And my worry is Mortarion's like this really cool, complex character. Like he falls to Nurgle, he like refuses to give in, and Nurgle kind of makes him give in, and he like wants to save his son, so he's like, fine, I'll serve you, but he hates himself. I love that aspect more than the like Mortarion sitting there like, plague am I gonna
Yeah.
unleash next, you know? Because I feel like they're so contrasted with themselves. So that's my only worry about. I could be wrong. Maybe the books are like neither of that. But my
No.
only worry is going into the books that they're a little bit like
Yeah.
away from the kind of Mortarion that I know.
I think it's very accurate, that, and I think that's because they're trying to lean so hard. I've mentioned Max a couple of episodes ago. The current rumor mill is Mortarion been redeemed. So a lot of people think that they're going that he's getting kicked in so often by Gilliman, and that Typhus is giving him stick now in all the novels and being like, these boys are mine, not yours. You're the Primarch who was chosen, but I was chosen to lead. And everyone's like, he's going for a redemption arc where you're just going to see him with the scythe cut Typhus in half or something like that. Just be like, nope, not today. Like, and that'll be it, and then it'll be like the Emperor stands. It'll be like some Hollyoaks drama. It really will. Like,
Yeah.
it'll be
But
crazy.
see, I love the whole thing with the Death Guard. Like even when you listen to Vaux and the Lords of Silence, like how he says to Typhus, "We remember what you did to us." Like I love the whole aesthetic that
Yes.
the Death Guard are like, we got betrayed. Yes, we're serving Nurgle, but best believe we're not doing this willingly. I know there's some Death Guard who do,
Yeah,
but I much prefer the guys who are like, we don't even look in the mirror because we know that we look horrifying. It is what it is, so we're just going to carry on with it. But best believe we know that Typhus was the one who betrayed us. I much prefer that for the Death Guard than the whole like, you know, like. And I know this is a weird example, but on Space Marine 2, like when you listen to the Death Guard champion, he's like all jovial and happy. Like that's got its place. But for the actual like Death Guard, I much prefer the sort of like stoic guys who've been made to submit, even though they're the legions that don't submit, kind of thing.
So almost like the
Right.
like
It's
the
like,
grim darkness side of the Death Guard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like I love tragic heroes or anti-heroes, and it's like I love Angron, like I love
Yeah.
his story, but I don't know. I find sometimes Death Guard get used as the punching bag, and they like made out these like cartoon villains where they're like, "Here's the next plague, you're all gonna catch a
Yeah.
cold," sort of thing. And then the hero comes along with the
laugh.
box of tissues, and it like saves the day.
That's
Fair.
actually a quote from Lord Vorks from Lord of Silence. He says, "You're gonna get sick. Cough, cough."
Yeah.
I think it's a valid point though. Like, look at Night Lords and how they're portrayed in Shroud of Night. Have you read that book or heard it? So in that book, they're a war band. So basically, he describes it, and they're like, "There's 10 of us. There's 10 Night Lords. We have a ship, but we're like a war band. And no, we're not heretics. Like we are, but you know, I've got like a blood angel sword. I've got this. I've got that, and so on and so forth. But they never remotely try to worship any other god. They will admit that the Emperor exists, and they're like, go around this planet. The sisters are like, you're filthy heretics. And Khan attacks the planet at the same time, and like the entire squad that's there look down and like, that's disgusting. And it's just like it's vile that they hate him because he's like, they said it's just like a whirlwind of his axe. It just goes and just annihilates like an entire precinct of Sisters of Battle. And they're like, even we know our limits. We are still just like we are just Marines who've got like a sword, a sniper, and a heavy bolt. And it's nice that they're still like humane about it. They're like, we are just Marines. Yes, we're like this
But I
pirate.
think like there's so much that you can do with that and still tie in the chaos thing. So like I love Iron Warriors, but I love them looking chaosified. Like I like it when they're full of spikes and hazard stripes because that looks cool. But I also like the tragic story of them being like used and abused by everyone, that they're kind of like, well, screw you, we hate everyone now. And like that whole thing of Perturabo wanted to be a builder, not a destroyer. And he's been made to like destroy. So he's become so bitter. And I like leaning into that where the Legion still has that sense of humanity rather than them just being like mindless hordes running towards people. I like the fact that they've become evil because of something.
Right.
Like the Night Lords going a bit nutty because they've flayed one too many people.
Yeah.
But
World Eaters all
tragically,
taken
they're
away.
like, our Primarch hates us. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved the nails for that reason. Like when they all adopted it and like they went through it and they all felt the changes that Angron did, and I was like, that was the true fall for them. Like they all were like, right, we want to be like Dad, and then they were like, oh my god,
Yeah.
I think this all the
But
time.
also,
Right.
like, Angron, you look at Angron and he's got dealt the worst hand. He's like, right,
Really.
I hate my life. I've just been raised to kill. I'm going to go die on this hill. And the Emperor goes, nope. Whoop. And
Yeah,
he's
it's
like, well,
like,
can I at least save my family? And he's like, nah, they did. Anyway, he has the Legion, go do stuff. And
yeah,
Angron's like, what did you
yeah,
do? Kind of thing.
Which
yeah,
is
not wrong.
also so crazy because in that moment, he like forget if it's him or somebody else even says something like "Oh, killing these is would take me like less than a second or something. But it's like what a great story it could have been. He could have united, Angron and his gladiators with the World Eater or World Eater Legion. I know they weren't World Eaters at the time, but they would have literally changed right then and there. So they would have
Was it
become the World
Mordor?
Eaters in a bonding ritual with Angron's gladiators on top of a mountain, taken over the world and built a whole new thing. Like imagine if that was the story, but tragic, Daddy pulls Angron and look where we end up, right? I mean, you have a guy that every 8 days can come back to, or 8 weeks can come back to real space now endlessly.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah. But
literally that.
I think that's why I side with the traitors, because
mhm,
apart from maybe Fulgrim and Alfarius, they've all got a tragic story, and I think all of them are justified. Like maybe Horus is a little bit like on the fence, but like Perturabo, Mortari, and like all of these guys have been dealt a dirty hand,
yeah,
and
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
kind of like, well, stuff you to the Imperium. We're going to be your worst enemy. And when you look at the story, like I was reading Buried Dagger last night, and like Mortarian's full of these scars because he got abused as a kid. Like now it's like you expect this dude to be absolutely loyal to you, and then you go and steal his victory, and it's kind of like, yeah, Mortarian, you go do whatever. I'm like, of course he's going to rebel because you treat him like dirt, kind of thing.
yeah. It's like Perthrabo's sister as well. Without putting
Mm.
spoilers everywhere, like yeah, straight up. Like if you look at what happened with
I
him and
love
her,
that scene.
yeah,
like, and then you're like, everyone's like, oh, why is he so angry all the time? And I'm like, nah, dude.
yeah.
It's like, I
Well, and it's not just
Like,
that, but like even to the point that Matt said there, like when you first read about and sorry, Kim, when you're doing your heresy book club, when you get to the Death Guard Legion, like you'll see this when they describe how Mortarion was raised by Nakar, they don't go over the fact of like how bad he actually treated Mortarion until you
Yeah.
actually dive into the book, and then you find out like no, like
Mm.
Nakar like literally abused him, like was like, why are you weak? Get stronger, like constantly almost like killing him to keep pushing him. And I think
Mm.
that's what also kind of led Mortarion that when he saw the humans, when he like went down and saw, oh my God, I'm killing humans. I think that's what woke him up because he was like, oh my gosh, like you've lied to me and you've put this facade over me this whole time.
Mm.
So why would I ever be loyal to you now?
Yeah.
If you were just open and honest with me from the beginning,
Mm.
it could have been a different story. But I think you're right. I think a lot more
Mm.
people, I think that's why the chaos side gets a lot of traction is because a lot of people can see the tragedy and the the bad hands that were kind of dealt to almost all of them, if not all.
Mm.
except Conrad. Conrad got the same
But even
foresight as Sanguinius, and then just went, do you know what? I'm going to be a really harsh Batman.
But
But he also had a tragic because he grew up on like a
yeah,
scummy
he had the
hive
worst
world,
start.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
living in the sewers kind of thing. Yeah.
Well, he started in like
And
yeah,
I mean, even
lava,
like,
didn't he? Didn't his ship land in like the core of Nostromo? I thought he had to like
maybe.
crawl out of like.
and I don't know too much about his.
Sorry,
It
not trying to
might be that
spoil it.
much. I
But too
think
many
so.
spoilers.
Maybe.
It's okay.
But I think like even Lorgar, who's like the Saturday night villain with the word bearers, when you learn about Monarchia and all that, it's like, dude, they were like the worst sort of abuse by the
Yeah,
Emperor kind of thing. And everyone just goes, yeah, but they word bearers, they like cartoon evil. I'm like, yeah, because the Imperium made them to be like that.
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Like they're
Not wrong.
fanatics, so if you push them away, they're going to be fanatic the other side.
Yeah,
Well, and
not
and then
wrong. I mean, to be fair, he did deserve the slap he got for slapping. Oh, what's his name? Who was the second to the Emperor Max? When Lorgar's like, "Don't talk to me that way," and he just slaps him. And I can't think. Gilliman's there, and it's Lorgar. There's Lorgar and Gilliman, and I can't think of his name. Second in command of the Emperor, and I can't think who it is. He's the one who
Malkador?
sits in the throne.
Malkador.
Malkador.
That's the one. Malkador, yeah. Where like Lorgar just slaps him and like sends him flying, and you're like, oh, no, it's not. Sorry, it's Gilliman he hits, isn't it? And then Malkador hits him.
Yes.
Yeah, he just uppercuts
Yeah.
Gilliman.
So Well,
Like
and
that.
the thing too with the word bearers too is like they got punished for like being themselves, really, if you think about it. Like their whole thing
Exactly.
is we just worship. That's our thing. Like we're the zealot legion, right? We're the zealous ones. And then it's like, hey, we're worshiping, we're doing what we believe truly. And then it's like, yeah, well, here's your most sacred city, and now it's nothing. So,
And
you know, that's what you get.
And I'm going to make the brother who you hate do it. It's like rubbing salt in the wound. It's like,
Literally.
hello, do you not think like that's going to be a problem?
Yeah. It's like the whole thing of Magnus as well, isn't it? Look at like sending Lehman Russ. Like he knew that by sending Lehman, he was not going to leave a single building standing. You send Lehman, you're giving him an excuse. It was like, here you go. Here's loads of custodians and take your full legion. Go tell Magnus to behave himself.
I'm sorry, but
Magnus, thanks for telling me.
they chose to send the Emperor's executioner.
Yeah, literally that. And that's something that I feel is missing from 40k, is them as executioners. Because they
I
always have been.
actually, I like where your head is at. If the rumor is true, though, that Russ is coming back as like an Odin figure and we're getting more of the Viking aesthetic out of it instead of like the furry
Yeah.
aesthetic of it, I would love that because I think an Odin Russ would be like perfect.
Yeah.
It makes sense considering you've got strategist. If they're going for all the good guys coming back all wise, then I understand it because you'd get Russ come back with a little eye patch and and the Emperor's spear, and it'd be sick. Like, don't get me wrong,
Yeah.
it'd sell out instantly.
He's literally called the
But again,
Allfather.
yeah, but then
Yeah. I think I'm interested to see what's going to happen with 11th edition. I know there's a lot of like rumors about it being based off bikes, and that's going to be like the sort of way it goes. But I'm actually thinking that they may do like a Armageddon style box where it's
That's what I'm-
like because they've subtly been going back to Armageddon,
look at the
and
Space
you know,
Wolves.
like I wouldn't be surprised if it's like an orc box with I don't know either Space Marines like Black Templar or maybe not Black Templars, but like some sort of big box that comes together around Armageddon. You know, maybe salamanders or something, you know, comes up again versus orcs. That'll be like so interesting to see.
Would see it been wolves due to their new codex mentioning that they're at Armageddon, because that's where I got it from for my Blood Moors, is they said that the wolves have been steadily coming across to Armageddon to fight orcs. And I'm like, you've dropped that so subtly that the Space Wolves, who
But
are all snow
the thing-
climbing, are just doing that.
I always think like G-dubs, when they release a new box, like a new edition, they've got to do a revamp of the whole army. I mean, look at the we had Indomitus with all those new units, and then
Yeah.
what's the last one that's come out? I can't remember what it's called.
It was Dark Imperium, then Indomitus, you were right.
It was
them
Dark
two.
Imperium,
Oh, yeah.
then
What
Indominus,
Leviathan?
and then we had Leviathan.
Leviathan. Yeah.
So like Leviathan for the Space Marines, that was a whole new box, and for the Tyranids, that was a whole new box. And I think like that's what I get a little bit thrown off by with all the rumors is I'm like, who with an army needs a whole new refresh? Because the orcs could do with that.
Yep.
But I don't know about some of the Space Marines because I'm like, unless you do like maybe the salamanders or something, I'm like, I'm trying to figure out where it fits in, you know?
It'd have to be generic, though, wouldn't it? That's their biggest thing from a launch box. And the only units we're missing now is Primaris Vanguard Vets. That's the last thing. We've had Blade Guard and your Eradicators.
Stern Guard just came
Then
out
you
with
had,
Leviathan.
yeah, Stern Guard and Terminators. Now we've got Assault Terminators just before 11th. So I'm like, all that's left is Vanguard Vets, which will always be painted in Ultramarines. They're always going to do it because it is the easiest one to master. And I'm a bit like, other than Vanguard Vets, there's nothing that we really need. Unless they're going to do like they did to Space Wolves and just upscale units. So like Grey Hunters and Red and Blood Claws just got an upscale. They didn't get the keyword Primaris anymore. It was just bump. So unless they're going to go like, here's a tactical squad, and everyone's going to just cheer for 20 Mark 7 helmets. Like, that's the one thing I could see.
But I think that they would lean into like redoing the tactical squad. I have a feeling that it's like, oh yeah, intercessors are gone. We've now done tactical squads again.
Yep.
And they will start to phase out certain units because at the end of the day, like GW has to make more money. Like everyone's who's been in the hobby since they were a kid has got that nostalgia factor. Like bringing back some of these units, you look at them and you're like, oh, that's so cool. Like look at Manius
Yeah.
Kalgar. He's very true to his old box. So I don't see. I wouldn't be surprised if G-Dubs is kind of like going to bring back something that's kind of there, but just revamping it, like you say.
Yeah, like a Primaris tactical squad.
Well-
Like, oh, look, you can have a heavy bolter from Stern Guard now in your tactical squad and a missile launcher because It would sell. Everyone would be like, it's the best of both worlds now. And as you say, for them as well, we've always got to think there's only so many molds they can have. So if they're going to do a tactical squad, that literally will get rid of intercessors, desolation marines, assault intercessors, the lot. If they could charge 60 for a box set that we charge 40 for now, they'll just scrap 3 molds and there you go. You got a tactical
Which
squad.
is sad because I love that side of collecting the hobby. I
Yes.
love, like, for the Death Guard range, I love having all the models. Like, there's a couple that I still need to get, but I like that aspect of, even if it's just a little unique sculpt with a melter gun, I'm like, at least I've got him and I've painted him up. He looks cool. And I think
Yeah.
if G-Dubs does get rid of some of the intercessors and all that, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's sad, because it's like
Yeah, it's a bit of
chucking away
history,
all of
isn't it?
those units.
Right.
The only thing I could see is because like anybody who knows like who's been around a long time and is kind of like this is like a long time. Anybody who knows like the history of GW, the tactical squad box literally saved their company.
Yes.
That's factual. So I think for them to re-release a nostalgia kit like that would just sell like wildfire because people just love the tactical box because it's just such a good box when it came out, right? Like when that first tactical squad box dropped way back in the day, it was the first time you could put a missile launcher on a regular guy and field him in a regular troop and everybody went crazy and like I still remember like, oh my god, I can put a heavy bolt gun on my guy and he can join my regular squad. So I think like little kits like this, I wouldn't even be surprised if they almost did it as a kill team first and then converted over, because that's a lot of the times that what we're seeing now too is some of these specialist units, we see them like the Raptors, for example, like right, it's going as a kill team
Yeah.
first, but then it's being converted to 40K, which I don't mind personally because you can still go just buy the regular kit, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think it's cool how they're these kits though, like you can tell like the love in the kit because you get the specialist guy in there. So it would almost make sense for them to do a tactical squad like that because you already have it. Like, in the kill teams, you get like one guy's like the Grenader, one guy's like the assault guy,
Yeah.
one guy's the Vox guy or whatever. So to make a tactical squad in kill team, I think would be genius.
They kind of have. Look at the Death Watch.
Yeah, yeah,
You had a Gravid,
yeah.
you had a Phobos and three Tacticas armor. There is your squad. It's like they did it already, and that sold out like wildfire. And that will, on a single release, that'll sell out every time.
Yeah.
I kind of
Like,
want
it's
them
interesting.
to get more into the metal models. I think they're so cool.
They are.
There's a huge backlog of like classic Marines they need to do. And like I mean, as a Chaos guy, I know I'm a bit biased. I feel sorry for some of the Xenos players, but there's so many models that they need to refresh. And I'm like, I love the fact, and I understand it from a business sense, doing your best sellers.
Yeah.
But I'm like, man, come on. Like, we're sitting on Chaos bikers like stuck like this, and these like tiny little Huron Blackheart, and I'm like, can we at least the Chaos spawns? Like, there's so many things that I want them to really just like redo all of them and then start doing all of because I mean, we're already approaching ground that a lot of people are starting to question. Like, are we starting to see Primaris getting upgraded again, like with new models, like redoing Primaris? And I'm like, if they go down that road, I will be like, because there's so many models that I feel like we need to refresh.
But what about some of the kits that like didn't do so hot? Like for example, Desolation Marines, not a very hot kit, and a lot of people actually say that could use a refresh.
I think they were.
Yeah,
hot
and I think that like I could see them doing like a Havoc equivalent. So like just rocket launchers that are shoulder mounted, as opposed like a what are they called? They weren't like
Devastators.
What's the Devastators? Like a Devastator squad.
Yeah.
And then take away the plasma gun guys and the Desolation Marines and do it into a multi-pod kit, because my only sort of gripe with G-Dubs at the moment with their newer kits, and Max, you've seen this with Emperor's Children, is there's a lot of repetition and a lot of monopose that's creeping in. And like for me, like I love to kit bash. I don't like that because I'm like, I don't want 5 of the same models in my army. I want 10 that I can change around the whole time.
Yeah, I think it's a very real thing they're doing now. And it's like even the new Ultramarines, like having looked at the sprues, the only change you get are the 2 options. You can have a banner or you can have a guy holding an axe doing the same pose. Like there is no, like back in the day where you could like pose their arms differently, you could do everything. It's literally like you're having this or this. Make your choice. Like, and for the money they charge.
Which I think they're doing to, sorry.
No, go on. It's fine.
I think that they're doing that because it's they're able to churn models out quicker.
Yeah.
I'd like, from a design point, I can imagine trying to do like 56 different arm poses or whatever is time consuming. Whereas it's like, right, get this unit out. No one's going to be using all of the like 10 of these squads. So just do 2 arm poses. Boom, 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 boom. Like Emperor's Children. It's a squad of 10, but it's duplicate torsos. And I saw that and I was like, man, like I miss the Death Guard kits where there's like 10 unique sculpts. The same with the Chaos Marines. Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so much choice in there. And then you can kit bash, and then like this dude can become a character.
And
Yeah.
I think part of this has to do with in 10th edition, and you can see this a lot more in Age of Sigmar right now with the last edition, with when the Skaven Tide came out. There's a big push for new people entering the hobby, and there's nothing against that. I'm all for, yes, let's get more people in it, more creativity, more people doing it. You know, I'm not against that, but the kits are almost being designed for newer people. So, and we saw this in the Horus Heresy launch that recently happened with the new edition, is they stripped a lot of the customization and then they got a lot of backlash, so they re-added it back in. But the reason that they did that is so that a new person, like who's freshly into the hobby, like with Kim, when she opened up Horus Heresy, she was overwhelmed almost by the choice, and she's like, "Well, which there's 7 pistol choices. Which one do I go with?" And if you're just starting out and you haven't played a game yet, you're not really into the lore, and you're just cracking open into the hobby, you don't know the difference between a flamer, a volkite, a disintegrator, a pistol, or a bolt pistol. You don't know the difference, like just straight up. The
No.
lore, what they mean, what does it even look like? Why do I tell the difference between a disintegrator and a plasma pistol? And I think they just did that just for newer players, but in the same sense, it then just hurts the older players like us who we have all these kits already. I want to take the same kit and customize it and change it and cool new poses. And I think something that I think Games Workshop should look into is, for example, on the Tau side of things in 40K, their battle suits all come with little pegs to show you where the arms go. But in the instructions, they even tell you, clip these if you don't want this, and then you can modulate them and do how you want them.
Mm.
I think if they did more
Mm.
kits like that, where there's a preset option where that can easily be stripped to then have a more customized option, it would kind of be the middle ground between newer people who, need maybe a bit more guidance in the beginning versus veterans who want more change and variety.
I also think, I know this is probably sounding a little bit like not snobby, but I also think that's why easy build kits were so cool. Is that like you just say like, cool, if you guys are starting, that's one thing I liked about 8 was that actually if you're wanting to start, there was those start collecting boxes which were monopose, like they were just
Yep.
there was a pose there and they had their loadout. And I think that it's probably asking a lot, but for G-dubs to have like a beginner range for each army. So like the Death Guard, for example, there's the Death Guard Heroes series. They're
Yeah.
all push fit. They just have a different head option. So like, do you want to start collecting Death Guard? Cool, buy this box. Do you want to start collecting Space Marines? Buy this box, and have that for each thing. Because like the Vigilus Chaos Marines, there's 10 Marines there. They've all got loadouts. So just put that in a box and say,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a new start collecting box. But I understand the aspect of you've got loads of different sprues and only so many molds that you can do. I think it's always going to be an issue that they're going to have.
Yeah, I would agree.
Well, and the other issue that Games Workshop is running into, and this is funny because a couple episodes we're going to start having store owners and stuff on as well. And one thing that my local shop has been saying is Games Workshop line is so big, we have to sit down and say, okay, what do we actually need on our shelf versus what do we want on our shelf? Because they said at the end of the day, this is a business and I need to take home to my family. If I think, this kit is cool because I collect this army, but it's not selling, I can't have it on my shelf, period, because I have to do it. So the other thing too is, like, I know Games Workshop is doing like big cuts to certain armies and stuff, and obviously that hurts the people that have massive collections. But on the other side, it's like when you look at it in a business perspective, it's like your local shop only has X amount of store room for X amount of boxes. And if you're trying to pump out 400 new boxes every single year, where's it going?
I have an idea for future box sets that I'm honestly a little afraid to say on air because I think this is like an actual good idea. Maybe I'll cut this if it's actual a good idea. But I think going into or like looking into the future of Warhammer and box sets and stuff, I think utilizing like the 3D printing customization would be really beneficial. Like if Games Workshop were to allow you to say make your own custom Death Guard box where it's like, I know it's a lot, it would be a lot, but like say if it's like out of 10 heads, you can choose to make a screw with like 3 of those heads. And then you go to
Yeah,
the body and then you go to accessories and then so they print the screw for you custom to your model. So it's still like all Games Workshop stuff. I know it's a
I think
lot.
that's Trench Crusade in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Like, I love Trench Crusade, and the fact they're doing plastic is amazing.
Yeah, before me.
But they've literally gone through that, haven't they? Like, a lot of people buy STLs, and it's like what you're saying, Kim, is they'll just buy an STL and they'll just go head off that one, body off that one, arms off that one, print, stick it together however they want, and that's what they've encouraged.
I would love it if Games Workshop did STL files
Yes.
for bits.
Yes.
Like, you know, like they said, we've discontinuing the Lord of Contagion
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Dark Imperium. However, if you want to purchase the STL file, here it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Like you can get it printed off, and then this is our authorized reseller or something
Yeah.
that can then print. So they're subletting someone else to like do the printing for them, and you can order bits off that. Because I didn't know this, and I wasn't around for this, but I believe that like years and years ago, you could actually order like bits that you wanted. So
Yes.
you would put like the code, I want this Bloodthirster head,
Yeah,
and then you
and
get
it'd be
that
the
for
right
model. And
answer,
I'm
yeah.
like, do you know how much money I've spent on kit bashing?
Yeah, like they used to do it all the time. They used to, like at the back of White Dwarf, they'd have like an order thing where
Yeah.
it'd be like, oh, if you want a Space Marine helmet in this variant with these arms and that, and you could just go bing, and like that were it. You did it, and it was a better
I
time.
think it makes so much more
Yeah.
sense.
Well, and the thing too, because it's funny we bring this up because you know, Matt, you actually reached out to me and said, "Hey, I need these bits 3D printed. Can you ship them to me?" And it was
Yes,
no
well,
problem.
literally.
It was no problem. I would do that for anybody who's my friend and who's worth it. But
Disclaimer.
yeah,
There you go. It's the second part that's now going to lose him 600 followers, and who's worth it?
but in the same breath, it's almost like, you know, if Games Workshop was able to provide a source for you, you know, and to everyone, I think that would be a great idea because like then instead of, hey, we need to release Chaos Space Marine upgrade sprues. Okay, well, don't worry about doing that. The guys that want Chaos Space Marines upgrade sprues are going to go buy their specific STL file. Like, for example, if I want Death Guard bits, I'm only searching Death Guard bits. I'm not searching for, you know, all this other stuff. I'm only exclusively searching Death Guard, you know, right arm, and I'm looking through, you know, what can I get?
Yeah.
What's the pose? What is it going to look like? But I think if they just did this STL kits, and then you know, you just go in, and it's like you said, it's the stuff that they don't sell or is out of production. It's just an extra revenue source for something you're not producing, but you have
Exactly.
the IP and licensing for anyways. So I'm kind of lost why they don't do.
I think the upgrade sprues for them are like the big winner at the moment, because when you think about it, like for a kit basher, which is becoming more and more popular, especially with all these painting competitions, people love to have extra bits to make something look unique. If G-Dubs is making tons of money off of these bits resellers who like chop off the things and you buy like a head for £1.50 or whatever, rather sell someone a box for £30 that's got maybe 10 new heads and a couple of shoulder pads. For them, that is like, cool, well, we're getting rid of all the people buying 3D printed
Yeah,
bits
that's
because
it.
there's now a variety. It's on a small sprue, so it doesn't take up much in terms of a mold. And you can do a number of them for each legion. And you're kind of cutting the 3D printers out of the market now, because the reason, like, I personally, I don't like a lot of 3D printed stuff just because I don't like the style of it.
Mhm.
I like what G-Dubs produces, and if I'm wanting to keep it uniform, then I'm only gonna like what you got from me, Max. Like that stuff ties in with my Black Legion. Whereas some of the other bits, I look at them and I'm like, I don't want that 3D printed bit. No offense to you, but it just doesn't fit with my army.
Right.
Whereas G-Dubs releasing like an upgrade sprue, I'm like, that fits with my army. I want that. And so you go and spend your £30 or $50 or whatever it is on a new upgrade sprue, and G-Dubs is kind of like killed two birds with one stone.
Yeah, I would agree. I think 3D printers, as much as they are a great resource, I think a lot of people over dramatize it. Like, look at Dark Angels upgrades. Like when they released it, they were like, right, we're going to give you some helmets, some shoulder pads. We've customized the sword for you. There's some like bits on the weapon. Then you go online and like you'll type Dark Angels helmet, and everything's feathers up to here. And you're like, yeah, but I don't always just want the dramaticism of a
Mhm.
huge feathered helmet. Like that's given to the best characters. And if I have a squad of 10 intercessors, all with feathered heads up here, there's no segregation. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And yeah, that's the big thing for GW is they run that market for that reason. Like white scars with the arm holding two heads. with the severed heads. Everyone bought that kit, not because they wanted a white scar, but they wanted a Space Marine that was carrying heads around.
You know what's funny?
That was it.
But that's why
You know what's funny? I
Yeah.
bought that
Okay,
kit
go
for
on.
the little eagle that's on his shoulder.
But see that's like, look at the Ultramarines kit. Like that, I think is what's going to start happening across the board
I
now,
agree.
because they've just gone and said, cool, here's 15 new heads, here's 10 new shoulder pads, there's some bits for your Terminators and stuff. So like for Emperor's Children, where everyone's complaining like, oh, why didn't we get Sonic Terminators? Sorry, they're like, well, we'll release an upgrade sprue. There's 2 weapons there for your Terminator squad, and there's 2 unique heads, and there's a torso there that fits in with your kit. Go have fun.
Yeah,
And so then
Dark
people are
Angels.
like, cool, well, now I can run units that I don't have to buy a whole new box for. I just buy the upgrade sprue. But for G Dubs, you're buying the upgrade sprue, which is another sale for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like pushing the sales whilst keeping everyone happy, because now there's a whole bunch of legends. I mean, like, imagine like with the Chaos one for Black Legion, now you can run a specific Black Legion unit or whatever, like maybe Red Butchers for World Eaters.
Yeah.
You know, people can now start running units without having to go and purchase a whole new like set of Marines and a whole new set of this. And yeah.
It literally started. Templars did it.
Wow, just one final like super quick thing. And we asked this to just everybody. Do you have any like one piece of advice that you could give to our listeners as somebody, you know, with your experience in your hobby, maybe somebody starting out? What's the number one piece of advice that you could give them?
Go easy on yourself, because we all start somewhere. Like whether it's playing the game, I learned, like, my mate had to explain rules 10 times to me. I still struggle with some of the rules. Painting, I look back on my pieces of stuff and I'm like, I can't believe how much a difference I've made, or how much improvement I've made over the last few years. And like kit bashing, you know, like some kit bashes work, some don't. Like, try it out, see what happens. But people tend to be really hard on themselves, because like looking at Instagram, there's all of these brilliant kit bashes and beautiful painting and people like churning out an army in a night and then like winning a tournament. Like, we all start somewhere. So, you know, the hobby's about enjoying it. Don't make it into something that pushes you away. Rather make it something that like is for you and you enjoy it.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah,
No, I
good
love that.
advice.
And yes, no, perfect. So on that note, Matt, much for coming on and for sharing your experience. And we had a lovely chat. To all of our listeners, if you once again, if you want to find Matt, it's Heretic on Starties on Instagram. You can also find him. He will have a dedicated bio on our page with some of the artwork that we've talked about today, including the drawing. So if you want to go check that out on our website, if not, check him out on Instagram. So from all of us here at the Voxcaster podcast, once again, thank you. And thank you to all of our listeners. Make sure you guys like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. You're all adults, you know what you're doing. So yeah, thank you guys. And on that note, we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Cheers.